And we are back in WildStar housing. As you'll see, we are on an alt of mine. This is turnip, part of the veggie family, if you want to call it that. I have lots of alts. Not all of them are vegetables. Some are like spices or something, but it's all, I guess, garden related. Um, we're going to do some random stuffs today. First, before I forget, let me drop a tweet out and then we'll close that up and we can continue on with the stream. Just a few things to mention before we get started. This will be the final reminder about the Nexus Construction League's housing competition that is currently ongoing. This Sunday, February 14th, is the final day, or I say final, it's the official last day to submit your house for consideration in their competition. It is open to entity only, um, just due to price constraints and how they've got it set up. It's just not feasible for cross region. And there's even a little bit of issues for cross faction, but I think they worked out the kinks in that. But Sunday is the official deadline to submit your home for that competition. You can find the link to the thread in my resources section on my Twitch channel page, or you can just go directly to the official web forums and go to the housing subforum, and I believe it is there. I think they have well over 30 plus homes in the competition now, so it's going to be pretty tough for the judges. I've been there. I know the pains of that, so I feel for the judges in that competition, but it's pretty exciting that there's so many people interested in housing enough to submit their homes. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of it, and all of the little, I presume, videos will be made and screenshots and stuff will be posted. So looking forward to checking that out. But this will be my last mention of it because, like I said, Sunday is the deadline. I do believe they're allowing for some late entries up until, well, I really don't know what date. I would assume it's not very long after the official deadline. So keep that in mind. Just check their thread to find out all the specifics on that. But I do know that if you do submit your home after the official deadline, then you won't be allotted the full amount of time for them to review it. I think they're slating 30 minutes per home minimum. So if you turn it in late, you might only get 10-15 minutes max or something like that. So if you really want them to take a good look at your home, to consider all of the nice juicy tidbits of it, then be sure and submit on time. So that's NCL, Nexus Construction League. I don't know if that's a guild or a circle. I assume it's a circle, but they're the ones hosting that competition. As well, just a heads up for those of you that are going to be interested in checking out some of the new content that is on its way. It will be hitting the PTR on the 16th. That's next week, I think. So I'm definitely going to be dropping in because I always try and get a up close and personal sneak peek of any upcoming decor that we might be getting in touch with, whether it comes from the housing vendor itself or questing in a general area. I assume with the new zone we'll have some new discovery type of things. That's more for pets and costumes, but maybe they'll have some decor tied to it as well. Now, because the new zone is kind of Arctic in nature, it might be that we can expect a lot more wintry type stuff, but you never know what's going to pop out. Speaking of new decor, though, yesterday we took some time to review some of the latest some of the latest bits, like from the Dungeon Chase event. We showed like the Protostar signs and shops and stuff. And we also previewed some of the Valentine's stuff that's currently available for a limited time in the cash shop. It's the only way you can get it. It's a bundle. It comes with all of the little Be Mine plushies and stuff like that. And then we previewed some things from Katya's Decor Shopper of items that their uh, coding is actually in the game, but they're not actually alive, like active. You can't obtain them yet. As it happens, yesterday I went back to work on my Valentine's plot that I'm setting up for tomorrow's guild event, and I noticed that there was actually some of the items that we looked at that are actually available in game. So just a heads up to those of you that are always on the lookout. I checked the patch notes for the recent update. They didn't mention it, that they had added some new bits. So I really wasn't expecting to find them, but I will let you see which ones that I did spot. There's the bramble hedges that we spotted. It's a regular hedge, and then there's a leaning version. You can see it's kind of a little crooked, not exactly straight. Like I said yesterday, it's not the kind of hedges I think people were expecting to acquire. We were probably hoping more for the ones that you get from the fab kits, like the hedge fab kit with the maze and everything. But, you know, something is better than nothing. So these are the bramble hedges that we're getting. So those two are currently live. Those are on the housing vendor right now, and you can see it. They're not too expensive. The next thing is the couch, the decrepit couch blue. It is live as well. Like I said yesterday, I would have preferred maybe the blanket and the pillows separately, but you know, you take what you can get. So here's the decrepit couch blue. Next one is the ginkgo trees. There's two versions of that. There's the regular one, a little bit of a crooked stem and nice kind of pointed, and then you have the bent version, which is a little fuller, depending on how you're looking at it. But again, these are live in the game now. They're a little bit more expensive, 2 gold per tree. That's you know, kind of a pinch for some, especially beginner players, if they're looking to, you know, make an orchard of them or something. But you know, if you just want to have at least one a token ginkgo tree, then you can have that for a minimal amount of gold. Then we have the Granok string lights. Let me reset that. Now we already have the colored string lights. The plus side to those is they do not count against your lighting limits when you place them. But the downside to them has been that they cost 1,500 renown per string light. So for those of us that were decorating with them for Winterfest, we found that pretty expensive, or I did anyway. Maybe others don't, but for me, I don't really go renown grinding too often. So when I have to cough up 1,500 a whack for an item that I'm wanting to use quite a bit of, it can be kind of a downer. But thankfully, now we have silver, 75 silver versions. They're slightly different. You can see this one's got like, I don't know, 8 or 9 bulbs on one string. One that's similar, it's only got 5. The Granok string light short. Then you have the hanging version, which is a little bit more loopy. And then you have the drooping one. These two here remind me of the ones from the Shades Eve, and rather than having the green skulls and like elixir bottles, these have the colorful ones. So that's a really nice addition. I like that because for those of us that might want to decorate for the next Winterfest, these will be very handy, a lot more accessible than say the Renown version. Okay, next we have the medical exam table. Um, Let me see if I can just plop that out here for viewing. You can see it's, like I said, I'm pretty sure it's the same table that they use in the Protostar Initiative building where they have a little snack bar and they've got like some food and stuff on it. I believe that's what they're using there. I haven't really actually gone to take a look, but it's a nice table. I can imagine people using it for like ping pong tables. They would make nice metal walls, doors, drawers, cabinetry, all sorts of things. So I think that's a really nice addition for uh, tables. Um, as a lot of our tables, like the picnic tables, are all bent and crooked, and some of the others are just it's just nice to see one that's a little bit more straight and reliably kind of uniform in color and everything. So there's that. And then the last thing that I spotted was the taco. We actually do have a new piece of food. Let me just pop that out here and size it up so you can see it a little bit better. Um, it's got like some salsa or sauce dripping off of it on both sides. Little bit of lettuce, and maybe you could get creative and just use like hide the little rest of the taco and just use the bits for fries or something like in one of your fast food restaurant type things. um, who knows what folks might use this for, but it's definitely a welcome addition. Anything new food wise is always a treat. um, but yeah, the space taco, we got a space taco now, so there's that. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention because yesterday we did look at them, but I was unaware of it at the time that some of the items were actually on the vendor. I did go through all of the ones. What I did actually was I just went item for item. I just set it up and then I just started clicking through the whole thing, and I went through the entire list. And so I'm pretty sure, fairly confident that I spotted all of the stuff that is actually new. Unfortunately, a lot of the the flower clumps and things that we saw for that's coming for spring, um, they aren't in yet. But we got to start somewhere, and I'm just happy that we actually have some new things that we can tinker around with. So just PSA on that stuff, that there's actually things that you can tinker with now. But today we're on Turnips Plot, Secluded Landing. You might remember that we did a little bit of work in here during the holidays for some of the holiday tree and wreath and garland decorating and stuff. Today we're going to remove most of this, and we're going to see about changing up some of the decoration, because one of the things I wanted to do for this particular build was to kind of show how you can leave primarily your main home as is and just change out certain pieces to kind of go with the seasons or holidays or however you want, your mood. If you feel like doing something a little wacky, you can put it up. So today we're just going to start removing some of the stuff, and then we're going to start adding in some other types of things. Now, before, if I really like something, like I really like the garland here, I always make a set of it and add it into the Katia Builder Toolkit for this particular character. I know a lot of my set saves are usually on my main character, but for things like this, if I want it specific to this character's plot, I always make sure I save it on there. So I actually have two versions of the full plot build, one before we added the holiday decorations, and I have a full plot save of all of the holiday decorations. But I've also made some specific individual sets. So I've got the landing Xmas, and then I've got like the porch garland. And what I did is I just linked all of these up so that they're one full set. And then later, If I decide to add it back for the next Winterfest time that comes around, it'll be just easy just to, pop it right back out. The main thing is, if you have a decoration like this and you remove it temporarily or decide to remove it and then later you want to add it back, just make sure either you leave the materials that you use to make it, leave it in the crate, or make sure if you're going to delete any of it, make sure it's something that you can easily obtain later. But always, if you're going to replace, put something back out from a set, always use the question mark. That will give you a printout in your chat window as to what materials you're lacking. Like if it's something that you deleted that costs renown, it will tell you, hey, you need X amount of renown to be able to put that out. That's a very helpful tool. Okay, so we're just going to start removing some of this. I didn't save everything individually because some of it's not that it's bad or anything. It's just I figure I could probably just make a new one the next time I want to do that. So I'm just going to start sending all of this to Crate. And when you're doing some legs, always kind of check the name. If you're wondering what this add-on is, this is a Laments add-on. I believe it's the Toolkit Pro extension to their main add-on, the Housing Set Decor Manager add-on. It's kind of handy. I know there's this that pops up and you can use this for moving, but I like this because it clearly gives the name, and I love it for the fast duplicating ability of it. So I always check here to make sure I've got the right thing selected before I start sending things to Crate, because I don't want to accidentally send a wall or something there. So I'm just going to start popping these back into the Crate. I know it seems like, wasted work kind of thing, but that's why you make the sets, so you can easily bring it back if you want. Now, as I said, I believe it's next week. Let's see, what is today? Today is 12th. Yeah, so it's next week sometime, the 16th, that the PTR is coming up. I will definitely be on the prowl for either myself coming across decor that we can show off, or I will be hunting down other plots that might have some on display. One of the fun things about PTR is we do kind of get some close interaction with our NA counterparts, and so I expect to see like Desmoose and Katia and a bunch of others that will be having their plots open and visible. And as they come across new things, they'll be plopping it down there on their plot so that they, folks can come by and have a look. I actually haven't been around anybody else's since yesterday to see if anyone's got some of the new stuff. I know that there's a place on the Dominion side that I visited that has some of the NPCs, but we won't be going there today. But I will say that from what I saw, they're kind of like more like statues. They're not like the NPCs that kind of move, like have a little kind of animation. They don't breathe or anything. They're just like rock solid. So I don't think they have any kind of noise even that comes with them or anything. So it's probably disappointing for some, but maybe it works for others, if they just want to fashion a scene without worrying about like the dragon tail sweeping through the wall or something, depending on how close they have it. I am happy to say that I did finish my Valentine's plot yesterday. I say that, and I'll probably drop by again later today and maybe add a few more things. I keep thinking I'm concerned that it's not elaborate enough or decorated enough. I really honestly don't even know how my decor count is going on any of it. I wanted to keep it simple, but not simple, if that makes sense. So I don't know. Um, I'm hoping the guild, those that show up to the event will enjoy it. And of course, I'm looking forward to showing you guys next week all of this stuff. I will, of course, break it down. If I put something together, I will let you guys know what I used and all of that kind of stuff. There are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 new paintings that I did. I say paintings, it's like wall hangings, my wall decorations or something. So there's that. There's like most of the furniture is custom. A lot of the plants that I got out are custom. I mean, they're combinations of multiple plants to make them. So there's going to be a lot to talk about, I think. I hope. I'm kind of going slow because sometimes I get into trouble. If I go a little too fast, I end up making a boo-boo, and I don't want to do that. Now, I don't know if a lot of you guys have been participating in the dungeon chase stuff. I think I grabbed a couple of bits with some Omni bits. I spent a little bit of those because I'm just not really in for the dungeoning stuff. I don't even do adventures and stuff, and those not adventures, expeditions, and those you can solo. I hardly ever do those. So when it comes to group stuff, it's even less likely that I'll be doing that. And it's not because I don't like playing with other people. It's just usually my hours are really different than most. And of course lately it's the guild that I'm in is been pretty quiet. I don't want to say dead because we got lots of members that still play or at least check in, but it's been very, very quiet lately. So even if I was inclined to do some dungeons with my guildmates, the chances of me actually getting into that is slim because, wow, doesn't that look weird? Take away the tree and you see all the mess in there. Is just, I think those that do come in usually come in the evening hours, and most of my evening is spent with family, so doing family stuff. So mornings and during the day is when I tend to come on here. So excuse me. And you see that it looks simple, the tree, and then you look at all the bits that were put together to make it. It's crazy sometimes. I know some of the ones that, whoops, see how I accidentally selected the wall. I don't want to remove the wall. I think sometimes when I talk about some of the paintings I've done, I'll mention about like how many pieces there are, and they're like, wow. And it's like, well, when you're putting something together, you're customizing it, makeshift, however you want to say it. You're not really thinking about decor count per se. I mean, you know that that's an issue, or it can be, but when you're putting something together, mostly you're just thinking about, okay, I need this. You just keep putting it together until you're happy with it, and then later you start thinking, wow, I used a lot of flowers there, or I used a lot of 2x4s, or whatever it is you're putting together. Then you start thinking, well, can I lessen the number if it's a little too much, you know, stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it's a give and take as far as when you're trying to put something together. I think mostly we just say, you know, I want to make this, and we just do whatever it takes to make it. Oops. It's a lot of junk. Look at all the pillows. There was a ton of pillows there. Hey Reaper, welcome to the show. And yeah, it was a lot of stuff. But it's high time I removed the holiday stuff since the holidays have come and gone. You know, we'll probably redecorate for the next one, but time to switch it out for something else. I've been neglecting my alt plots, busy with other things, and you know, you get stuck on a project. You know, if you have multiple plots that you build on, it's really easy to kind of get sidetracked and focus on one, and then and you just kind of got to make time to build on the other ones. That's why I tend to not build like multiple themes all at once. I prefer to focus on one and then kind of finish that one before I start tackling another one, because it's easy to kind of get lost in it. I know several builders that have multiple plots that are kind of midway or partial, and they're always talking about how it's hard to get back into the mode of a particular theme if they've been working on, you know, say they've got a jungle theme and a desert theme, and it's kind of hard to switch between the two. Maybe not everybody has that difficulty, but some of us do, and for me, I just find it easier to work on one at a given time. You know, maybe today I work on this one, and then tomorrow I'll work on something else, but it's not like today I'm going to work on several different places, because I think that would be a bit of a strain. So bye-bye to the wreath, and then we had lots of little tree ideas that we put in here, just as an experiment idea, brainstorming. It's just candles and brambles. Candles are always fun because, again, like the string lights, they don't count towards your light limit. Of course, the downside is they don't actually have any light that they give off, but you know, if you're just wanting something that looks like a light but doesn't actually count against your light limit, candles are a good way to go. Whoops. Okay, so that one's bye-bye. And then we had this one over here, the ugly pillow tree. I don't know, I like the pillow topper, but in fact, I'm thinking I'll use something similar for a friend that they wanted me help with their winter plot. And I've been doing it like a little bit at a time. I honestly just kind of forget to go and work on it, which is a shame. You know, I offered to, you know, help them with it, and then I keep forgetting to drop by. But you know, you get busy, and it's not even that I get busy in the game. I get busy in real life. It's, you know, it's sidetracked. Lots and lots of pillows. I'll have to find something else to make with all of this pillow stuff. Okay, so that's that one gone. And then we had the white one made out of just snow clumps and bottle tops. I really liked the white one. May have to bring that back at some point. wasn't exactly perfect. I noticed when I was looking at it a little bit before we started the stream today, there were some bottle parts poking out that shouldn't have been, but you know, from the angle that we were looking at it before, it was fine. Seems a shame to use an item and only show like the little bit, but you know, sometimes that's all you want. I think it's worse if it's an item that's kind of rare and you're using it. I know I made a lamp out of some of those rectangular windows, and a fellow builder was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so sad because that's such a hard to get item and you're using it for something so basic." I was like, well, you know. And then we had the cheese tree. Let's get rid of the cheese tree. Poor little tree. Pillows. I used tons of pillows for this. I guess the pillows are just, it's one of the few items that's somewhat easy to work with, and they come in a variety of colors. I think that's the main reason. See, I'll leave the candle holder. That's not too bad. Let's see, I think there was something in the kitchen. Yes. Table topper for the little candle thing. We'll go ahead and remove that. It was pretty for the holiday, but it's kind of big and bulky. We don't want to leave that on there. Okay, I think that was it. Now the other things that I'm going to go ahead and remove, and some may feel sad about it, but I'm looking to try and make something new, is the day-night paintings. They've actually been relocated onto my mains plot down in the gallery that's beneath the plaza, the mall. So they're still actually going to be in the game. They're just not going to be on this particular plot. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the. They were among the first paintings that I experimented with making. I actually started doing paintings back in beta, but I only did a couple of them, and they were very simple in comparison to what I've put together lately. But yeah, I'd like to try something different. So we're just gonna strip these out. For those on Entity, you could actually see these live now. I believe Flower has them in one of their homes. They're the ones that make the pianos, and we worked out a little deal, and I shared some paintings with Flower. So on Entity, you know, look up Flower, and I don't know the full name offhand, but you can actually see them there. Same way with the seahorse painting and the. Well, I know for sure the seahorse painting is on Katya's her new beach house thing. In fact, I think they're doing a little special get together either today or tomorrow, one of the two. And you'll be able to see it there. I don't know if she's got the sunset one out as well. That one's a little more difficult to make because it requires the skull trees, which I used for some of the tree part. And then it's got, of course, the shiny lighter, which is not exactly a common item. So they're probably, disappointed in that, but that was just how it worked out. Okay, so I probably won't be using the frames again, but I'm just leaving them up for now to kind of help me kind of center things when I get it figured out. Now, I'm going to be using kind of to my advantage that there's some stuff here. I may have issues here, I'm not sure. And of course, on this side, we've got, whoops, I actually completely removed my cabinet there, didn't I? Let me just put that back in. My poor cabinet. Was the wall planter. Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I added the paintings to the walls in here, is because I was using, let me get that straight here, using the wall planter as a cabinet for my bathroom, and some of the flowers were poking out the other side. So I used the painting to help kind of cover some of that up. Now, depending on what I do this time, I may not have the luxury of hiding those bits. You see there's those flowers sticking out. We'll see what comes of that. I may actually have to change it up a bit. See, that's not even right there. Let me push that in a little. Push the door handle in. Just one of those things that no matter how many times you look at your house, there's going to be things that you notice later that probably weren't, really meant to look that awful. Okay, so what I may end up doing is leaving the framework and just boxing it in and then putting something inside that kind of thing. In fact, I think we'll work on this one first, since I have this to contend with, and see where we get from there. So first thing when you put a painting together, like I mentioned before, is you kind of think not just about the subject, but the background. For landscapes, you're going to typically want something blue for sky, or water, and then some kind of browns or grays or purples for mountains, ground, pathways, rocks, that kind of thing. Now, like with the sunset painting, I got away with using the bright yellow because obviously you're looking for sunset-y colors. It's not exactly traditional sunset, but the idea was there. It was kind of more of like a silhouette painting. But this time, I think, since I have the pieces here, I'm going to see about using a snow clump and having a white background, and then just putting some kind of a portrait or something on it, keeping it really simple. The main issue I'm going to have is probably the required, to have it sized up so I have a nice big flat surface, or mostly flat surface, to work with, but then worrying about it poking out here. So I'm going to push this forward so that it covers up the plants that I don't want to see over here, and it looks like, yeah, that'll work okay. So what I'm probably going to do is just kind of figure out how I want to orient the snow clump, and just try and get it as flat as you can possibly. You may have to adjust it as you go, but we're going to see how this is going to work. Pretty thick, so I don't know if it's going to work well or not. Let's see, I'm thinking maybe I'm just trying to decide what style of arch I want to try. Don't have too much granite, so I'll try the granite one.
Achievement.
Hey, I got an achievement. Imagine that. Now I'm just mostly, well, I was planning on using that as just to kind of help orient it a little better, but of course it doesn't come in right. Figures. And then I'm just gonna kind of figure out what size it needs to be. This is what I'm gonna want to do, that didn't come out right. What I'm wanting to do is to frame um, the white, try and make it a little bit more uniform, if that makes sense. Rotate that. Not going to be perfect just because of how I've got it set up. But this will be where maybe you adjust the angle of the clump to kind of hide the bit that you don't want showing. So I'm going to angle that a bit more so that I end up more closely with a round of white. Almost looks like a mirror, doesn't it? Like I said, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be probably some gappage there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish boxing this in just by extending this out a bit. Kind of hard to see from that side. We'll leave it for now. Let's see, that one is 805. There we go. Trying to make it a little bit more even. Hey, Soccer Top, good morning. 806 for that one. We'll leave that as well. Okay, so now that I have kind of a blank canvas and I've got some thickness in here, I don't have to worry about too much about finding things that are flat or having it poke out real far out in the front, that kind of thing. So it gives us a little bit more leeway. Again, the paintings, because you're working with three-dimensional objects and trying to make them two-dimensional, it's pretty tough if you don't allow yourself some backing there. So, but since we're coming into, I'm not going to focus on Valentine's Day because I've already got a plot that's kind of dedicated to that, and I'll be showing that later. But since we're going to also be coming in soon into like St. Patrick's Day and Easter and spring in general, I'm going to try and put something together that's kind of springy, but fits, obviously Orin are going to be really heavy on the spring stuff, so lots of plants and things like that. So we're going to see if we can put something interesting together. Don't know what exactly yet, but we'll see what we can put together. I'm going to look and see what kind of trees we have. I think we'll probably reuse the, I think it's, yeah, the finger flowers. I'm just going to put one here, and I'm going to experiment with how I might want to use in the paintings we just tore down. I used it as actual trees, but I think I'm wanting more of just of a branch out there. My day's going pretty good, Soccer. It's just been a quiet morning. I did a few contracts on my main to kind of, always got to have that flat incoming. So did a few contracts of that. I helped a couple of Dominion and a couple of Exile do the StarCom event. Yes, it's unbelievable, but I do other things besides housing. But it's all in the name of housing. I got to raise money and keep my funds up so that I can afford the housing, as most builders will attest. Money and renown and all that is always a constant requirement. Okay, so I think what we're going to try and do is a bird, maybe. I don't know if I can pull it off. Excuse me, man, I've got the hiccups or something. I guess I'm growing. But yeah, I think I'd like to try to do a bird of some sort. A bluebird or a red bird. The tough thing about trying to make something that's representative of something that's real, like a bird or like a face, like a portrait or something, it's really tough to find items that can give that kind of blend effect. Maybe you want like blue, but you don't want it like all solid one color blue. You want like a darker blue, kind of graduating into a fairer blue. That's kind of tough to do. But you can kind of work around that. Sometimes when I'm thinking about working on a painting, it's helpful to look at different styles of painting or pictures. Like mosaics are real good, depending on how they're made, because they tend to use blocks of color, and that's a little bit easier to kind of envision when you're looking at blocks of color as far as from decor and things. So let's see, I'm just going to go through here to see if anything kind of pops in my head as being a bird-like color or shape that might work for for a bird. Bottles kind of come to mind. The candles might actually work. The only problem is if you get close to the painting, the candles are going to light up because they're interactive, the chairs are pretty, you can see how it has kind of like a graduated color. The shading changes it. It's just that the shape is a little awkward. Cheese is okay. The bottom of it's kind of nice. Just looking for color, shapes, things that might look. I'm gonna put that out there. I know this always reminds me of like a butterfly. Not that I really want to do a butterfly. I'm really hoping to put together a bird, but what you aim to do and what you end up doing might not necessarily be the same kind of thing. And that's okay. When you start out with something, it evolves, and that's part of the fun. You never know what you're going to end up with. Now we do have the Hoogles, and they have nice shapes, but I don't want a green bird. Even though these are, they're supposed to be statues, and that, you want spring colors, pastels. So blues, pinks, whites, see, these would be nice, but they're so spiky. I don't know if I can get away with using that too well. Kind of dingy. And of course, for paintings, typically, not always, typically, I aim for stationary items. You don't want stuff that's going to move because it might look a little weird. I have used a few things that have movement in them, and I just kind of ignore that they move. But primarily, you want to aim for things that don't, or for that kind of thing. Looking for pastels. This is a pretty color. The main thing that I don't like about this is the shape of it is pretty hard to work with. And then of course it's got that limb sticking out, but you could put something together with that. I will put one of those out just for testing purposes. Pillows are often a good starting place as well, because again, they have a lot of nice colors. Sounds like my son might be up. I hear some banging downstairs. And I probably should have had some breakfast before I hopped on here because my stomach is starting to make a lot of noise. At least this one's great since this is my alt. She's not got a whole bunch of stuff stocked up, but you never know. Okay, so let's try the mushroom first. We'll just see how awful it looks. Again, I have no idea what shape I'm aiming for or what. Just gonna be experimenting here heavily. It may be like the lanternfish I tried to make for one of the CBDCs that I used to run. It'll be one of those things where I start it and then I go, oh my gosh, that looks awful, and just give up on it before I even get started. See, I'm also worried. See, there's still some of the snow showing through there, so that's gonna probably bug me, but let's just get the birdie in there first and then we'll see what we got. I don't know, I kind of like that shape, but maybe not quite oriented like I'm hoping. Because you typically have like I'm picturing this as the head area, and then that'd be like the breast front of the bird, and then it comes out to the back. So maybe if I add in another one, oops, didn't even do nothing there. If I start piecing this together a little bit, it might make a little bit more sense, maybe. That doesn't look right. I think that looks worse. I need to get it away from that yellow dot thing, I think. I'm trying to make some kind of a tail, like the bird feather tail stuffs. So that he looks like he's sitting on the branch, but then I don't know if that looks right or not. uh, kind of like that. And then we need like a bird head. So Um, not quite turned. Almost like a crow now instead of a nice little sparrow looking thing. It's wrong. Oh gosh. He needs more curve. He's too pointed. Hold on. Try it this way. I'm trying to see maybe if the yellow will work as like the beak. Okay, and then turn this one, I guess, a little bit. No, he looks like he's wearing a snow hat. That's wrong. Let's see if I can rotate that so that the yellow dot's not showing. That just looked bad. The weird capped bird thing. I can't get the head to shape right. Okay, maybe I'll pretend like these are feathers, like he's got like a feathered head or something. Maybe that will help. Don't really want it to look like a parrot though, but that's probably what it's going to resemble now that I have these spiky, strange bits. It's a weird bird. Now, when I'm doing stuff like this, I'm mostly looking at shapes and colors. But you'll see that I'm not really getting too much in the detail. I'm not putting feet on him. I'm just letting the person that's looking at this just kind of imagine that there's some feet there, that he's stuck on the branch in some way other than just kind of floating there. Now I could maybe add something for um, indicate an eye. That's blah, 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 blah. Let me see. Something black, I guess. Or maybe one of the bottles. Would work. The main thing you have to realize is when you're getting into like really small detail like this, it's going to be a tendency where it doesn't show from a distance. The further out you get, the less it will be visible. You'll have to get in there pretty close. So how does that look? Does that look like a bird? You know, I'm not defining the wings or anything. I probably could try and indicate a little bit better on that, but I'm looking for something simple but kind of springy, not too complicated. Let's see, I think I'm going to link all these together so I can kind of move it to the right a little bit. Obviously the bird's not going to be exactly centered because, you have to worry about the tree limb itself being, still within the frame, but I think it'll work. Still missing some of the bits. What was it? The head? Yeah. Okay, now I think we got it all. Yeah. Now notice as I push and pull, it's changing how it looks even because of where it's positioned in the snow. So, pay attention to that as well. Now, if I like the tail how it looks here, but as I move it, the tail changes. You're just going to have to adjust it after that. And hopefully, you can find where you like it. Quite happy with that one. In fact, I think I will add another one. So there we have a little springy bird thingy. I don't know I have no idea. It's not in any particular breed. I just liked the color of the shroom, and there it goes. The tail is a little choppy on the bottom, but I don't really mind that. It kind of, I don't know, looks kind of feathery because of that. So maybe, that'll work in my favor. I have no idea, but just kind of extending the tail out a little bit to kind of help. I don't know, it feels a little more even now. There we have a little bird, just a spring bird. It's more like a parakeet or something because of the little bit here, but I like it. Nothing too elaborate. Now, I'm just wanting to show that you don't have to use like 50 billion pieces just to make one little thing, You could change the way it's framed if you prefer to have, say, orange arch. Where is that? Arch, arch, arch. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Oh, for crying out loud, let's see, arch. There we go. You could easily replace that. Just, oops. It copied twice. You'd rather have it, more solid rather than the rocky bit. That works just as well. In fact, I think I might like it that way myself. That's what I'm doing. I'm testing it out to see. Might help it pop a little better. That's really the only way I can think of that will make it look like a full painting, like a framed paint. You know how you have your frame, and then you have like I don't know what it's called. It's usually like uh, an inner frame, but it's like paper or a really hard cardboard, like matting, I think is what it's called. You have your framework, and then you have the matting, and then you have the portrait or the picture. And that's kind of what this is supposed to be like. So you got the framework, and then the matting, and then you have the picture itself. So yeah, I think I like that way. So I'll just get rid of the the Draken ones. And always be careful when you're using the place decor list. Never punch that button. That's a bad button. You don't want to create everything. I mean, unless that's what you're really going for, but typically not. So there we go. We've got a little spring bird. So now what I would do is I would basically try to mirror this. Hey, Maddie, good morning, and thanks. I thought it turned out pretty good, especially just for kind of a spur of the moment thing. I really didn't know what we were going to put together, but there you go. Basically, what I'll do this now is I'm going to mirror the framework and the snow clump, and have it set up over here as well. And then we'll make another little thing, or try to. Keyword being try. No guarantee that it's going to come out anything worth noting, but so probably what I'll do is I'm just going to take over a copy. I think it's exactly lined up, but I may be wrong. Yeah, it looks like it's exactly lined up. I think that's how I did it on purpose, so that it would be easy to kind of copy over when I made them in originally. So I'm just going to do that with all of it, the framework at least. So now, one of the things that I kind of aimed for with these two particular paintings was I liked that they were kind of like counterparts to each other. Partly because the framework is the same for both, so maybe we'll do a different bird, try another version to see if we could come up with something. Obviously, you don't want to use the same pieces, even if the idea is the same. So we'll be looking through probably the housing vendor to see if there's another item that looks feasible for a bird color. Yeah, I don't know what that looks like. Maybe it's a parakeet or something. I was thinking more like one of those little fat little bluebird things, but it just didn't work out that way. He just kind of evolved into something else. Okay, so I'm going to check 7. I got pretty close on all those. It's not bad. And then we are going to attempt bring the snowball over. Now this one's going to be tricky because it's not exactly at any particular degree here, so I'm going to place it first, and then we're going to see about rotating it. So it's probably not going to be exact, but what's going to help is when I bring, excuse me, I swear, I think it's me gabbing all the time on the stream. I'm losing my voice. Hey Bones, good morning. Glad you guys could join us. Okay, so I'm looking where I've got this here. You can see there's a bit of the framework there, so I'm going to try and match it close. This is where my eyeballing kind of comes into play. I don't really go for pure specifics as far as measurements and everything. It gets me into trouble sometimes, granted, but I don't know. It's quicker. I'm not really worried about maths. It looks like the lines are a little bit more narrow, and these look pretty bold, so I'm going to have to